videos of the evidence of what this complaint is can be found on my account at YouTube.
Here's the revised letter with the added details, including your previous attempts to contact HHS and concerns about the nursing home's actions, as well as the new additions to the narrative. Draft letter to the new director of HHS and the new FBI office handling ADA complaints. Robert Nordberg, your address, city, state, zip phone number, email address, date. Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. New Director, Department of Health and Human Services, HHS address. City, state, zip. Kash Patel. Director, FBI Office Handling ADA Complaints, address. City, state, zip. Formal complaint regarding abuse, neglect, fraud, and violations of the ADA at Windsor Morgan Nursing Home, formerly Rotama Nursing Home. Dear Director Kennedy and Director Patel, I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to formally bring to your attention a series of disturbing incidents that I endured at Windsor Morgan Nursing Home, formerly Rotama Nursing Home, in Corpus Christi, Texas. These events, spanning over the last 2 years, include medical neglect, fraudulent actions, violations of my rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act (ADA), and clear mismanagement of care. I am seeking your urgent intervention and investigation into these matters. 1. Previous attempts to contact HHS. I first reached out to HHS during the COVID-19 pandemic after experiencing mistreatment at the nursing home. However, rather than addressing my complaints, the HHS official who arrived at the facility was more focused on promoting fear of COVID-19 rather than addressing the issues at hand. This individual arrived fully covered in a plastic bodysuit, mask, shield, gloves, and booties, in full compliance with outdated and extreme COVID-19 protocols. This was in direct contradiction to the reality of the situation, as by that time, COVID-19 lockdowns had ended, and staff and visitors were no longer required to wear such extensive protective gear. I explained to the HHS representative that I had done my own research and that I knew the virus was already patent protected, and that I believed the response to the pandemic was not based on sound science. Yet, the HHS official disregarded my concerns and instead insisted that the virus was novel and that I should be fearful of it. It became clear to me that the visit was not meant to address the issues I raised regarding neglect, abuse, and fraudulent activities at the nursing home, but rather to push an agenda of fear and compliance. This experience made me feel as though my complaints were being ignored and dismissed, and I believe this response was part of a larger pattern of neglect toward residents. 2. Forced quarantine, coercion, and neglect of care. Upon my arrival at the nursing home for physical therapy prior to a heart operation, I was immediately placed in a 14-day quarantine, despite having natural immunity to COVID-19. My roommate and I were left in inhumane conditions, with our calls for help being ignored. This neglect resulted in further deterioration of my health and an unnecessary delay in treatment. Additionally, 4 hours before my scheduled heart surgery, I was coerced into taking a PCR test against my will. Despite my protests and the known unreliability of the PCR test, the head nurse at the time Despite my protests and the known unreliability of the PCR test, the head nurse at the time, Letty, threatened to cancel my surgery if I did not comply. The test result, which I observed, remained white and was clearly negative, yet I was told it was positive and my surgery was canceled. This resulted in a significant delay in necessary medical care. 3. Fraudulent billing and misleading practices. I was also subjected to fraudulent billing for therapy sessions that I was told were free. I later discovered that these sessions were not appropriate for my needs and that I had been misled into participating in group therapy that was billed to me without my consent. Additionally, this fraudulent charge interfered with my wheelchair order, which was an essential need for my mobility. 4. Inhumane treatment, failure to address medical and dental issues. During my stay at the nursing home, I faced severe medical and dental issues. Despite multiple assurances from the staff that dental work would be completed, I endured months of neglect and pain. My face became swollen from an untreated infection, leading to the loss of multiple teeth, and I received no assistance in addressing these issues. I have video evidence of my attempts to get care, which was repeatedly promised but never delivered. 5. Violation of personal property rights and money laundering allegations.
That point was that they said my toothbrush, toothpaste, and all of my personal property were COVID positive for 14 days. That's what that point was. And they wouldn't give me my own toothbrush or provide a new one. They put 100 people in quarantine and took away all of their personal property, including all of their toothbrushes, toothpaste, and abused everybody, not just me.
The nursing home confiscated personal items, including hygiene products, claiming they were COVID positive and needed to be quarantined. This was not only an invasion of privacy but a blatant violation of my rights as a resident. This happened to all 100 residents in the facility, and I strongly suspect that it was part of a larger scheme.
And it was a violation of the Fourth Amendment for all 100 people here.
This happened to all 100 residents in the facility, and I strongly suspect that it was part of a larger scheme to profit from federal funds, as the nursing home was reimbursed for each resident placed in quarantine. Moreover, I was made aware that the nursing home promised extra pay to employees in the form of PPP funds, but none of the staff received this promised money. It is my belief that this nursing home was involved in fraudulent practices, similar to what has been reported in other institutions, where funds were misused under the guise of pandemic response measures. 6. The need for an investigation and accountability. I firmly believe that Windsor Morgan Nursing Home engaged in a